Welcome back everybody to 31 Days of Horror, and today we're taking a look at 1953's House of Wax. So this is directed by Andrei Titov, who I've not seen any other horror films from before, but he did do the likes of Day of the Outlaw, Play Dirty, Ramrod and Man on a String, all four really rather good films. So this is a mystery horror film clocking in at 88 minutes long, and as of course it stars the one and only Vincent Price, who we're talking about once again, after talking about him in The Abominable Dr. Thebes, which is another great film from him. But yeah, in terms of other films that I don't think I've mentioned from his filmography, he was also in like The Mask of the Red Death and The Comedy of Terrors. Also stars Frank Lovejoy, who was in the Ida Lupino directed film The Hitchhiker, and finally Carolyn Jones, who was in Invasion of the Body Snatchers and Last Train from Gun Hill. So wax sculptor Henry is horrified to learn that his business partner Matthew plans on torching their wax museum to collect on the insurance policy. Henry miraculously survives a fiery confrontation with Matthew and re-emerges some years hence with a museum of his own. But when the appearance of Henry's new wax sculptures occurs, at the same time that a number of corpses are vanishing from the city morgue, art student Sue Allen begins suspecting wrongdoing. So this isn't the finest Vincent Price-led horror film that I've ever seen, but thanks to his really good lead performance and several other elements, it at least is able, where I am at least able to overlook some of the flaws due to just how entertaining enough of a film it is. Along with Price, the supporting cast is decent. It has solid cinematography, although I'm not a massive fan of the way that the colorization on this looks. Now, it was made in color, but I think that the 3D process somewhat has oversaturated it a little bit. It doesn't look anywhere near as good as other color films from the 50s, especially in terms of Vincent Price's cinema filmography. There was a really good production, especially at the beginning where Price's character wrestles with Matthew. Um, Fire everywhere, building is collapsing. There's a gas leak that explodes due to the gas lamp being exposed and not lit. And yeah, it's just a really exciting way to start the film. Ends quite excitingly as well, but it's that beginning that is surprisingly more exciting than the finale, which is usually the other way around. Um, the action scenes in general, though, are superb with a real sense of physicality to them. Vincent Price usually didn't really get into fistfights or action scenes in his films, but especially in terms of his horror films. But in this, he really does. He's punching people, he's throwing them around and such, and it just feels real physical from him. And it's a real unique film in that regard as far as his films go. It also oozes atmosphere. It is engrossing throughout and has a camp tone to it that is neatly balanced with the horror of the plot. Just a shame though that the script isn't the best by any stretch of the imagination, and there is a lot of filler, especially when it comes to trying to justify the 3D format, which, yeah, I don't imagine was particularly great at the time, and it certainly isn't when trying to watch it in 2D, because you have a lot of things flying at your face as a guy with a pong on a board, or I'm not sure what they call, but it's flying at you and stuff like that, and it just feels real filler. And he breaks the fourth wall as well by talking to the audience about, oh, duck the person in the front row or whatever, or I'm gonna hit your mouth, not the popcorn, or the popcorn and not your mouth, because I'm not aiming for your tonsils, I think he says at one point. So yeah, the 3D format does take away a little bit from it, but that's one reason why this film was so successful at the time. Cost only $1 million to make, made more than 5.5 million in the US and alone on its initial release. Went on to make more than 23 million after numerous re-releases, especially when 3D eventually cropped up at certain other points in the film history, particularly the early 80s when 3D made a slight comeback. So yeah, not my favourite of Vincent Price's filmography, but still a solid 3.5 out of 5. And it is better than the follow-up to this, which was made to capitalise on the success of this film, and that is the form of The Mad Magician. Not as much of a fan of that as I am of this one. But yeah, I think this is actually the first colour film that Vincent Price was in that was a horror film, so does have that going for it. And yeah, there's the Blu-ray and the DVD that this release comes from HMV as part of their premium collection. This was number 44 in that collection. Don't worry though, if you don't have a 3D player or you don't have a 3D glasses or anything like that, your Blu-ray player will detect whether or not you have a 3D one or not, or the disc will detect whether or not you have one or not, and it will then play it in 2D accordingly. So yeah, no need to worry there. We did also have some art cards for this release. So we've got the film poster that we've seen already. And by the way, this does include the 1933 Technicolor original Mystery of the Wax Museum. Not as good as this, but still fairly solid. We also have Charles Bronson in a supporting role as a mute deaf henchman of Vincent Price's, one of his earliest roles. Finally, so that's the opening scene where, yeah, Price is in a fist fight with the guy that's burning his place down. And yeah, that is just a really, really good scene overall. So yeah, we also have House of Wax, unlike anything you've seen before in terms of special features. Commentary by David Duval and Constantine Nast. There's even. Then we've got a newsreel theatrical trailer. Like I said, the Warner Bros. Future Mystery of the Wax Museum from 1933, which is decent, but nowhere near as good as this. Primarily because of Vincent Price. So yeah, overall a really rather solid film. Not my favourite from Price, but there are ones that I'd rate lower than this from him. Like I said, The Mad Magician in particular, which is good, but nowhere near as good as this one. And yeah, like I said, does feel like a copycat of this at the end of the day, which it kind of was. So yeah, but nonetheless, if you have seen this film before, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.